Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. European leaders to convene for emergency Ukraine summit in Paris. US weighs Putin's motives, says Ukraine, Europe will be part of real peace talks. West Asia is a hub of hectic parleys ahead of key peace talks. Zelensky reaches UAE. US Middle East envoy and NSA waltz set to depart for Saudi Arabia. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu signals moving ahead with Trump's idea to transfer Palestinians from Gaza. Magnitude 4 earthquake hits Delhi NCR. Strong tremors felt across the region. Prime Minister urges people to stay alert for possible aftershocks. Authorities keeping a close watch on the situation. And in BAFTA Awards, Conclave scores Best Film as The Brutalist, ties with 4 wins, and Mickey Madison surprises in Leading Actress. French President Emmanuel Macron will host European leaders, including Britain's Prime Minister, on Monday for an emergency summit on the Ukraine conflict. The French presidency said on Sunday that Macron had called for the consultation talks and that they would address the tumultuous change in the US approach to Ukraine and the attendant risks to the security of the European continent. Others at the summit meeting will be German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Ursula von der Leyen, and Antonio Costa from the European Union. Meanwhile, Macron held a phone call on Sunday with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, in which Macron discussed Saudi Arabia's role in any peace deal for Ukraine and how Europe should play a key part in this. While in Saudi Arabia, US officials prepare for talks with Russia, most likely to take place on Tuesday in the capital. US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz are traveling to Riyadh. The two leaders said they will be having meetings at the direction of President Trump and hope to make some really good progress. Also, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has signaled that the talks were a chance to see how serious Putin is about peace. Meanwhile, US has now clarified that Ukraine and Europe would be part of any real negotiations to end Moscow's conflict. The planned talks in Saudi Arabia coincide with a US bid to cut a deal with Kyiv to open up Ukraine's natural resources wealth to US investment. Ukrainian officials had met several US officials in recent days at the conference, while Trump had talked with Zelensky last week. Whereas in Abu Dhabi, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and his wife Olena arrived on Sunday. Sources say UAE officials had proposed to host a peace summit, which could eventually include a meeting between Putin and Zelensky. Also, sources further said that the UAE had emerged as a top candidate for the first meeting between Trump and Putin. However, as of now, Zelensky says his official visit would give priority to his wife's humanitarian program, investments and economic partnership. Meanwhile, Trump said on Sunday that he believes he could meet very soon with Russian counterpart to discuss ending the conflict in Ukraine. Speaking to reporters, Trump said that he was working hard to achieve peace and said that he believes both Putin and Zelensky want to stop fighting.
Oh, I think he wants to stop. That was my question to him. Because if he's going to go on, that would have been a big problem for us. And that would have caused me a big problem because you just can't let that happen. I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them. And Zelensky wants to end it too.
From being a symbol of transatlantic unity to now reflecting European unease, the Munich Security Conference has come a long way. This year's conference has revealed deep divisions between the US and its Western allies on NATO's promise of collective security. With a shifting in the US role, NATO faces tough challenges in maintaining its strength and unity. DD India's Mihir Mekuri gets us more.
Decades, the Munich Security Conference has been a symbol of transatlantic unity. But Trump's takeover of the US has turned the moot into a stage for European unease. From lecturing Europe on bolstering its own defenses,
but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger,
to raising questions on Europe's loss of democratic values. The message is clear. NATO, founded during the Cold War to defend shared Western values, loses its moral purpose if those values are no longer upheld. This has irked many.
I strongly oppose the impression that Vice President Vance has created that minorities are being suppressed or silenced in our democracy. We know not only against whom we are defending our country, but also for what? For democracy, for freedom of expression, for the rule of law, and for the dignity of every individual.
Trump's call for NATO members to take their security into their own hands has left alliance members scrambling to figure out a response. Amidst this, Zelensky has called for the creation of a European army to strengthen the continent's defenses.
Many leaders have talked about Europe that needs its own military, an army of Europe. And I really believe that time has come. The armed forces of Europe must be created.
Zelensky's suggestion hit a roadblock when the Polish foreign minister, in a televised interview, stated that the European countries would not create a unified army in response to threats from Russia. Taking a middle path, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that the United Kingdom would work to ensure the US and Europe remain united and should not allow divisions to distract them from external enemies. But what is NATO and what does it stand for? Formed in 1949 with the signing of the Washington Treaty, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or the NATO, is a security alliance of countries from North America and Europe. It now has 32 member countries. NATO's fundamental goal is to safeguard the allies' freedom and security through political and military means. At the core of this alliance is Article 5 of the Washington Treaty, that an attack against one ally is an attack against all, a promise of collective defense. Plus, Article 4 of the treaty ensures consultations among allies on security matters of common interest. With the United States now uncertain about the scale of its involvement in NATO, European countries face an uphill task in boosting their defense spending. Mihir Mekuri, reporting for DD India.
All right, our correspondent Anil Thomas joins us from New Delhi. Anil, good morning. Now, on one hand, we see summit-level talks being held in Paris on Russia-Ukraine crisis. At the same time, in Saudi Arabia, official-level talks are being held. Get us more. How do we expect both the meetings to pan out? What is there on the agenda, and how will it address the Russia-Ukraine conflict?
Well, good morning, Preeti. Well, it's very much on expected lines. Europe is feeling the heat of being left out of the Russia-US talks.
Yes.
That's the big reason why Macron has called this emergency meeting. But in the same light, he's also made it clear that let's not dramatize this particular meeting that the European leaders are having. But remember, there is also a backroom channel talk that's on between, there is a direct talk between Macron and the Saudi Crown Prince, clearly indicating that Macron believes, or Europe believes, that they have a lot to offer on the table, irrespective of the fact that Russia and Trump administration is talking directly without Ukraine and also without the European Union. So all in all, they are trying to assert the fact that without Europe, anything to do with Ukraine is just not impossible on the table. And I think that's the big takeaway one is looking at. Europe is feeling the big heat of losing out, on being on the table, on the negotiating table. And they are trying to assert the point that whatever Russia promises is impossible without the European Union getting Ukraine to agree on it. And I think that's the big rollout that Macron is trying to do with this meeting.
All right. Also, Donald Trump has talked of meeting Russian president. At the same time, he's also talked of how he feels that both Ukraine and Russia, both Russian president and Ukrainian president, want to stop fighting. Anil, help us explain what is it that he is picking it from, and how do we expect this to further carry on?
See, Preeti, one needs to look at what happened in the Munich conference. Munich conference, the US vice president was very clear that Europe is not spending enough on its defense, and you cannot bank on US to come and time and again to deliver things for you. I think the earlier defense cut was roughly around 2% of GDP that the European countries were contributing, which they have up to 3%. But I think the Trump administration is pushing them to up it to 5%, especially when it comes to investing in defense in particular. And having said that, let's also try and understand what the US has spent in totality on Ukraine as compared to what the European Union has spent. Purely in terms of military aid, there is $2 billion more that the US has spent. But purely in terms of financial and as well as humanitarian aid, there is close to a $30 billion difference between what the Europe has spent as compared to what the US administration has spent. That's clearly the Europe has spent almost $30 billion more than what the US has spent. So clearly, US understands what's on the table. US understands that the importance US has, especially in the European Union and the European countries. And I think UK's Prime Minister Stammer's view, especially on getting troops on the ground, is something of a middle part that UK is trying to get in it, because UK is out of the European Union, but UK is trying to keep itself relevant. And I think UK will have a big role to play, especially in how Macron handles Trump on the first point. The other point, especially how Saudi Arabia, Macron has had a direct talk with the Saudi prince, clearly ending of the geopolitical pressure that the European Union is facing. It will also have a cascading effect on the global oil prices that are likely to go up or go down, depending on how this war is moving ahead.
All right, Anil, what do you make of how is the war moving ahead? Because on both the sides, we see negotiations being held, efforts being made to end the conflict there. But then, given the ground situation and also, nothing coming in from either Russia or Ukraine for that matter on this, how do you expect the days ahead to pan out?
Well, very much, it's going to be, Ukraine has to take whatever is on the table. And I think Ukraine has more to lose, less to gain from, whatever the process happens. Let's also understand that Russia talking directly with US minus the European Union is a big loss for Ukraine. And, Marco Rubio has indicated that Ukraine is not off the table, but Ukraine is not attending this meet in Saudi Arabia. So that's a bit of a concern for Ukraine. See, you are not going to become, US is very clear with its agenda. They want 50% of the minerals that, the market of minerals need to be open. At least half of it needs to be open for the US. One, Ukraine doesn't get to be a part of NATO. Two, third, the all likelihood talk that Ukraine was trying to pitch post pre-2014, all that Russia is annexed, that includes Crimea, that includes Luhansk, Zaporozhye, Kherson, all these regions, almost 20%, 1/5 of Ukraine land is with Russia. That needs to be returned to Ukraine. I think all this looks unlikely. Ukraine has more to lose on the table than to gain. But the only big benefit that Ukraine can look at is the end to the war. We are almost hitting third anniversary of the war. We are stepping into the fourth year. Ukraine will look for the war to end because they would look for peace and stability for the people. And let's all remember that Zelensky is the president, but elections are due in Ukraine. Elections are long due. So let's hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel and we get to see elections in Ukraine taking place and a leader, Zelensky or a new one, to take the country forward.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. So that was Anil Thomas explaining to us the meetings that are being held in Saudi Arabia and Paris. We'll keep you updated. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, humanitarian crisis worsens in Democratic Republic of Congo as M23 rebels enter the center of another key city. DG-level talks between BSF and the border guard Bangladesh to begin in New Delhi. New York City's Chinatown bursting with music and dance as the 27th annual Lunar New Year parade was held, enthralling spectators despite the heavy rain.
Prasar Bharati, in collaboration with IIT Delhi and Software Technology Parks of India, is organizing the DD Robocon 2025 this year as well. In this National Robotic Championship, engineering students will get ample opportunities to showcase their ingenuity and potential. The national selection for this championship will be held on the 12th and 13th of July, and the winning team will get an opportunity to participate in the International ABU Robocon Championship to be held in Mongolia in August this year. So, hurry up. The last date of registration is the 16th of February. For more information, log on to www.ddrobocon.iitd.ac.in.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu signaled that he was moving ahead with US President Donald Trump's proposal to transfer the Palestinian population out of Gaza. Netanyahu said after meeting the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Jerusalem that Israel and the US are determined to thwart Iran's nuclear ambitions and its influence in the Middle East. Netanyahu discussed the plan with Rubio, who kicked off a Middle East visit by endorsing Israel's conflict aims in Gaza, saying Hamas must be eradicated. Speaking at an event in Jerusalem, Netanyahu also said that Gazans should be given the choice to leave the enclave if they wanted to, and that US President Donald Trump's plan for Gaza was right on the dot.
Not give Gazans a choice. Everybody said this is the largest open-air prison in the world. Not because of us. We let people leave. In fact, if you want to know, over the last couple of years, 2 years I think, 150,000 Gazans left. You know how they left? Because they bribed their way out, not to us. They bribed their way out. We will not allow Syria to be used again as a staging ground for attacks against Israel. Now all this has been done to date, but of course there remains a principal problem, and that problem is the source of all these attacks against us, all this aggression against us, and that source is one country. It's Iran.
The talks between Netanyahu and Rubio come after US President Donald Trump proposed a US takeover Gaza and removal of the 2 million Palestinians there to the neighboring countries. Trump repeated on Sunday his support for Israel's next actions in Gaza. Trump said he told Israeli Prime Minister to do whatever you want as hostage releases between Hamas and Israel were negotiated. Trump has said that he wants the US to take ownership of Gaza and rebuild it into Riviera of the Middle East.
I told Bibi, you do whatever you want because, you know, my statement was they got to come back. Now, the reason I made that statement because they said they weren't going to deliver, they were not going to deliver the people that they said they were going to deliver, that they agreed to deliver. And they did agree to do that, but they broke that agreement. When I made the statement, they delivered everybody plus an American. Now, the good news is they look like they're in pretty good shape because the people from the week before didn't look like they were in good shape.
Israel's security cabinet was set to discuss on Monday the next phase of the ceasefire in Gaza after the top US diplomat Marco Rubio and Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu presented a united front on their approach to Hamas and Iran. The comments come a day after Hamas freed 3 Israeli hostages in exchange for 369 Palestinian prisoners, the 6th such swap under the ceasefire deal, which the United States helped mediate along with Qatar and Egypt. Israel and Hamas have traded accusations of ceasefire violations, and adding to the strain on the deal is Trump's widely condemned proposal to take control of the rubble-strewn Gaza and relocate its more than 2 million residents. Meanwhile, a massive humanitarian aid convoy left Egypt's new administrative capital on Sunday for the Gaza Strip. The largest humanitarian aid convoy consists of 457 trucks loaded with more than 7,200 tons of food, housing and medical supplies. The humanitarian situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo continues to deteriorate as M23 rebels entered the center of another key city in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo on Sunday. Scores of people have fled from outlying districts of Bukavu, capital of South Kivu province. It was barely defended by the Congolese armed forces. On Friday, Rwanda-allied M23 rebels seized Kavamu airport. The fall of the city of 1 million people gives the M23 total control of Lake Kivu following its capture of Goma, capital of neighboring North Kivu province, at the end of January. As Congo is the world's top cobalt producer and a major copper supplier, it faces renewed concern about the impact of the conflict on crucial mineral exports. The involvement of troops from neighboring countries have stoked fears of a broader regional war rooted in tensions over power, identity and resources dating back to the 1990s Rwandan genocide. The African Union highlighted growing fears that the strife-torn country could break up. The African Union has reiterated the need for caution and the need for M23 and its supporters to disarm and withdraw from occupied territories.
This new escalation should not become an open conflict that will disrupt and impact on humanitarian activities and the already very weakened social fabric in the region. The only way to solve the problem in Eastern DRC is for all parties to sit around the table.
Nearly 2,000 soldiers take part in Sweden's largest military exercise in central Stockholm with scenarios of terrorism and subversion around the parliament and government buildings. The exercise, named Berger Jol, is held every 3 years and runs over 4 days with urban warfare training in some parts of the capital. Amidst deteriorating security situation in Europe, and the Swedish government has decided to reinforce the protection of the parliament and the government buildings by the armed forces. A week before Germany's general election, tens of thousands of people joined a demonstration in Berlin against cooperation with the far right after US Vice President J.D. Vance called for Germany to drop the long-standing taboo. According to local police, around 30,000 demonstrators took part in the rally. In a press release, the organizers called for a decisive fight against right-wing extremism, racism, as well as a commitment to social justice, fair working conditions, climate protection, and responsible international politics. Speaking on stage, actor and musician Herbert Grönemeyer urged the crowd to go and vote in the upcoming elections, saying that German democracy was under attack from enemies of democracy who wanted to destroy liberal coexistence. Argentine President Javier Milei could face an impeachment trial in Congress after the libertarian leader touted a cryptocurrency which crashed soon after. Milei late on Friday posted on X recommending the little-known crypto coin Libra, which soon after shot up to nearly $5 a piece. Just hours later, the cryptocurrency plummeted to under $1. Argentina's fintech chamber acknowledged that the case could potentially be a rug pull in which the developers of a crypto token draw legitimate investments, pumping up the value only to later dump their stake. Opposition lawmakers said they would launch an impeachment request against Milei. Milei later said that he took down his post after becoming aware of the circumstances and that he had no relation to the cryptocurrency. Candles lay on Sunday at the spot of a deadly stabbing rampage in Austria's Villach, which authorities now believe was carried out by a Syrian asylum seeker radicalized online and a follower of Islamic State. A 14-year-old boy was killed in Saturday's attack and 5 other people were wounded. The bloodshed in Villach followed the thwarting of a plot in August to carry out a suicide attack at a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna by a teenager who had sworn loyalty to IS. Saturday's rampage also comes days after an attack on Thursday in Munich, in neighboring Germany, by an Afghan national who drove his car into a crowd, injuring dozens of people, 2 of whom died later. The 4-day 55th Director General level meeting between the Border Security Force and Border Guard Bangladesh will begin today in New Delhi. A 13-member delegation from Bangladesh will attend the conference. Border Forces of India and Bangladesh hold DG level meetings twice a year. The 55th meeting was scheduled to be held from November 18 to 22nd last year in New Delhi, but it was postponed at that time at the request of the BGB, citing the domestic situation in Bangladesh. The last meeting took place in Dhaka in March 2024. The border conference will officially conclude on February 20th, and the Bangladesh delegation is expected to return home on the same day. The 7th edition of Nepal Agritech International Expo 2025 witnessed thousands of visitors, enhancing B2B networking in Nepal. The 3-day expo aims to promote the latest agricultural technologies, products and services to drive the future of agriculture in Nepal. This expo served as a platform to smoothen business-to-business networking and collaborations. With over 100 stalls and representatives from the government, industry, academia and farming communities, many of Nepal's specialities like East Nepal's coffee beans and many local produce were also displayed and were on sale. In Nepal, over 80% of the population is involved in agriculture, constituting 38.7% of the GDP. By use of agri-technology, food security is expected to be ensured in Nepal, along with export, adding to the economic growth of the Himalayan nation. A powerful storm swept through the eastern United States, causing devastating flash floods. At least 9 people have died in the eastern United States, including 8 in Kentucky, as powerful storms brought flooding and exceptionally powerful winds, downing trees and cutting power. State of emergency has been declared in the region. Flood warnings will remain in place on Sunday morning. The region is expected to see strong wind gusts as well as snowy conditions towards the afternoon. Brutally cold weather is expected to hit much of the country later in the week.
Down here and washed away.
A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. New York City's Chinatown came alive on Sunday as the 27th annual Lunar New Year parade returned, drawing thousands of spectators despite the heavy rains. Participants welcomed the Year of the Snake with traditional lion and dragon dances, vibrant music and dazzling firecrackers. Afro-Colombian communities in Colombia's southwestern town of Quenamayo sing and dance to worship the black baby god and celebrate Christmas like every year, a little later than the rest of the country. For decades, women, men and children dressed in traditional costumes have been commemorating Christmas 2 months later, a tradition that dates back to the days of slavery when their ancestors were banned from enjoying the holiday at the same time as the country's white gentry. Venice came alive with mystery and allure as the city celebrated its annual carnival on Sunday. This year's carnival, themed in the time of Casanova, was dedicated to the 300th anniversary of Giacomo Casanova's birth. It brought together masked revelers in elaborate costumes, filling the streets and canals with the romantic and adventurous spirit of Casanova. This year's carnival ends on March 5th. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Prime Minister Modi to chair a meeting today to choose the new head of Election Commission. Emir of Qatar will be arriving in India today on a 2-day state visit. To honor those who have made significant contributions in promoting yoga, nominations open for the 2025 Prime Minister's Yoga Awards.
geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. The national capital woke up to tremors. An earthquake measuring 4 on the Richter scale hit Delhi NCR around 5:35 a.m. at a depth of 5 kilometers. The epicenter was reported to be near Delhi. The tremors, which lasted for a few seconds, were strong enough to be felt in residential areas, causing panic among the residents. Many people rushed out of their homes as a precaution. There have been no immediate reports of damage or casualties. Delhi NCR falls in seismic zone 4, making it prone to moderate to strong earthquakes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has urged people in Delhi and nearby areas to remain cautious. Posting on X, he wrote and echoed him, tremors were felt in Delhi and nearby areas, urging everyone to stay calm and follow safety precautions, staying alert for possible aftershocks. Authorities are keeping a close watch on the situation. All right, Tapas Bhattacharya joins us from New Delhi. Tapas, good morning. We've told our viewers how the tremors were felt early in the morning today. You get us the latest on that. Do we have any reports of aftershocks?
Not yet, Priti. It's a good morning, but as you mentioned rightly, at 5:36 a.m. IST, the Indian public, when they woke up, especially Delhiites woke up, they realized that there's an earthquake that has taken place. The magnitude of the earthquake can be gauged from the fact that even though it's on the Richter scale, it was measured at 4.0. The impact was felt as if it was over 5 and above. But mainly that was because of the fact that the epicenter of this particular earthquake was in Delhi. In fact, it was in the New Delhi area. Remember, Delhi is it's demarcated in 7 districts. It is in the New Delhi area, which is, you could say, the heart of the national capital. Now, the epicenter happened in New Delhi, and at the depth at which it took place was 5 kilometers below the surface area. Now, when it happened that the depth is not that high, the impact is generally felt more, and that's one of the reasons why, even though the whole thing happened not more than 8 to 9 seconds, the impact was felt as if it is more than that, and that's one of the reasons why there was a bit of a panic situation early in the morning when people came out, rushed out of their homes to know exactly what happened. But as Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned this, that one should be careful about the aftershock, as quite rightly, because he has first-hand experiences of how to deal with earthquakes. Remember when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he oversaw the whole things of Bhuj earthquake. That was one of the critical situation in Bhuj at that time. Now, coming back to this particular earthquake that happened, we don't have aftershocks, and thankfully, but there are chances that because there is a bit of a rupture in the tectonic plate, especially in some of the areas, one believes that there can be some sort of shock later on also. So one can't overlook the entirely exactly the whole thing. So in the next couple of days, one should be a little bit careful about what to do, and be mindful of the fact that there might be earthquake that can happen in the next few days, even though there are no aftershocks so far. Generally, one see aftershock when there is an earthquake over 5 and above, but one can't really rule out. So one has to be careful about that. And as I mentioned, this happened in New Delhi area, and I think last time Delhi was the epicenter was way back in 2012. So it's been more than a decade that Delhi has seen an earthquake which has an epicenter right here. Priti.
All right, Tapas, thank you for joining in with those details. In other news, with Rajiv Kumar's tenure as Chief Election Commissioner ending on February 18th, Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led selection committee will meet on Monday to choose a new head for the poll body. The high-level panel includes Home Minister Amit Shah and Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi and would choose the new CEC from a panel of 5 names proposed by the search committee headed by Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal. The CEC and the election commissioners will be appointed from among persons who are holding or have held a post equivalent to the rank of Secretary to the Government of India and will be persons of integrity with knowledge and experience in management and conduct of elections. The Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, will pay a state visit to India on 17th and 18th of February. This would be the second visit of His Highness, the Emir of Qatar, to India. His Highness earlier visited India on a state visit in March 2015. The Emir of the State of Qatar will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourts of Rashtrapati Bhavan on Tuesday. During his visit, the Emir will hold discussions with President Draupadi Murmu, who will also host a banquet in his honour. He will hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, covering various aspects of the bilateral relations. India and Qatar have deep-rooted historical ties of friendship, trust and mutual respect. In the recent years, the ties between the two countries, including the areas of trade, investment, energy, technology, culture and people-to-people ties, have continued to strengthen. The 8th Indian Ocean Conference is being organized by Indian Foundation in association with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Oman on February 16th and 17th in Muscat, Oman. The theme of the conference this year is Voyages to New Horizons of Maritime Partnership. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, addressing the conference, highlighted the serious disruption of global shipping due to the conflict in West Asia.
Indian Ocean Conference.
The 8th Indian Ocean Conference in Muscat, Oman, brought together critical states and principal maritime partners of the Indian Ocean region on a common platform. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke on the number of challenges, including maritime consequence of the conflict in West Asia, resource constraints and economic headwinds faced by the Indian Ocean nations, illegal trafficking of various kinds, and the challenges of terrorism and tension in the Indo-Pacific.
The Indo-Pacific has been witnessing deeper tensions and sharper contestations. The scenario is intrinsically maritime in nature, involving respect for and observance of international law. There are other concerns, some related, some autonomous. Stronger assertions of interest is one issue, concerns about unilateral changes to the status quo another.
Jaishankar said the West Asia conflict has resulted in a serious disruption of global shipping.
In the Middle East or West Asia, there is a serious conflict underway with the potential for further escalation and complication. At the same time, long-standing issues are being revisited, sometimes with a radically different approach. Its maritime consequence is visible in a serious disruption of global shipping with considerable cost to all our countries.
Jaishankar added that India's journey to new horizons must necessarily focus on addressing these challenges. India's External Affairs Minister highlighted India's efforts by providing 10 relevant examples. India has been a stable partner and friend in times of COVID, promoting greater land and sea connectivity, be it through India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC, India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway, or International North-South Transport Corridor. India has been a first responder to conflicts and disasters in the region, promoting interoperability and synergies with partners to face maritime contingencies and piracy, ensuring maritime safety and security by establishing coastal surveillance radars and partnering on wide shipping agreements, responding to extreme situations through deployment of naval forces, capacity building of other Indian Ocean navies and coast guards, ensuring trusted and secure communication in a digital era, closing gaps and building bridges between resident and non-resident powers with the global south, supporting institution building in the region. While Oman's foreign minister Syed Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, in his speech, commended international cooperation in maritime law, particularly UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, for ensuring freedom of navigation and equitable resource sharing, the power of diversity as a source of strength, and advocating for collaborative efforts to achieve sustainable solutions to the region's challenges, and recognizing the Indian Ocean as an opportunity to foster international cooperation, with Oman calling for a focus on common interests to achieve shared prosperity. During the last 8 years, the Indian Ocean Conference has emerged as the flagship consultative forum for countries in the region to meet its development, connectivity, maritime and security aspirations. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. The city of Pune in the Indian state of Maharashtra continues to bear the brunt of GBS. As per the press note released by the Integrated Disease Surveillance Program, Maharashtra government's public department, GBS, an autoimmune disorder which attacks the peripheral nervous system, has affected 181 people so far. Additional 27 cases are being suspected of being infected with GBS. Indian Navy's first trading squadron comprising of INS Sujata and ICGS Veera engaged in professional exchanges at Cambodia's Sihanoukville port. The visit included meetings with local officials, cross-training, sports events and the handover of a small armed simulator to the Royal Cambodian Army. The Ministry of Ayush has announced that nominations are open for 2025 Prime Minister's Yoga Awards. These awards honor those who have made significant contribution to promoting yoga. The winners receive a trophy, certificate and 25 lakh rupees. Applicants must be at least 40 years of age with 20 years of yoga service. Nominations can be submitted on the MyGov platform by 31st of March. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Sri Lanka's President Anura Kumara Dissanayake presents his newly elected government's first full-year budget as the country gradually pulls ahead from its worst financial crisis in decades. The budget is expected to contain adjustments to income taxes and provide incentives to businesses. Asian markets quiet as Wall Street holiday dampens activity. Dollar struggles after weak US retail sales spark rate cuts. In sports, Brazil's João Fonseca becomes the youngest player to win Argentina Open.
Prasar Bharati, in collaboration with IIT Delhi and Software Technology Parks of India, is organizing the DD Robocon 2025 this year as well. In this National Robotic Championship, engineering students will get ample opportunities to showcase their ingenuity and potential. The national selection for this championship will be held on the 12th and 13th of July, and the winning team will get an opportunity to participate in the International ABU Robocon Championship to be held in Mongolia in August this year. So, hurry up! The last date of registration is the 16th of February. For more information, log on to www.ddrobocon.iitd.ac.in.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's talk of business updates. Sri Lanka's President Anura Kumara Dissanayake will present his first full-year budget today. The focus of the first budget of the NPP government will be on economic recovery and meeting the IMF bailout terms. The island nation had secured a $2.9 billion IMF deal in March 2023 and has completed 3 reviews so far, with the 4th tranche expected soon. Sri Lanka has so far shown a faster than expected recovery to emerge from the financial crisis. Although the inflation has eased, interest rates have fallen and debt restructuring was completed in December. The challenge of making the economy stable for debt repayment exists. Mr. Dissanayake, who is also the finance minister, has promised lower taxes, introduced more welfare programs and also aims to boost local industries. Industry experts expect a populist approach towards the NPP government's first budget, as the debt-stricken nation will in fact still faces several challenges. Dr. Ahmed Moin Faruqi joins us from Colombo. Ahmed, good morning. We've told our viewers how the first budget of the new government is expected today. Let us know the priority areas of the government, what challenges are still to be faced by the government, and how is the road expected for Sri Lanka ahead?
Very good morning to all of our viewers. Preeti, yes, you have rightly mentioned, in fact, in the story also we have spoken about the challenges which Sri Lanka had faced over the last 2 years. In fact, the peak of the crisis in 2022, there was a forex crisis. Thereafter, it had made efforts to scramble out of it. The then president under Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sri Lanka had made considerable efforts. And now, with the new government in place, it has several challenges. The primary of which is to meet several of its targets, which were set by the government itself as well as under the IMF program. IMF program primarily talks about budget deficit of restricting it up to not more than 5.2%. So that is a very crucial aspect of the budget which people would be expecting at. That said, there is also another crucial aspect that there is a Public Finance Management Act, which last year the government had passed to restrict the primary expenditure to only 13% of the GDP. These are the restrictions which the government will have while preparing the budget. Now, the crucial thing will be that the budget is expected to be a populist one, which will provide lots of benefits to people, including tax holidays, tax relaxations, as well as increasing salary hike to public sector employees. This is something which people have been anticipating for quite some time, because salary hikes had been kept on hold because of the economic crisis. And this is a very crucial thing, because a huge chunk of the people are in the public sector itself. In a country of 22 million, there are more than 1 million people who are in the government services. And this is a very big number. If you talk about the total workforce itself, it's a huge chunk. Now, these things are being talked about. That is on the one hand. The crucial task for the government will be to manage to find the revenues. One area while the entire challenge exists is the government expects to generate revenue from imports of the cars. The cars had been imported traditionally in Sri Lanka, and they were put on hold from 2021 because of various reasons, including the economic crisis as well as various other challenges. Thereafter, now in February of 2025, this month onwards, the government has allowed the import of cars, albeit with an increase in the taxes on the import itself. So the government expects considerable revenue coming from the import of the cars.
All right. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for joining in with those details. And South Korean authorities on Monday said that Chinese AI app DeepSeek had been removed from local app stores pending a review of its handling of user data. DeepSeek was removed while authorities thoroughly examined DeepSeek's personal data processing practices to ensure compliance with local laws. Choi Yong-wook, Vice Chairperson of the Seoul's Personal Information Protection Commission, told a press conference. The UK government announced a multi-billion pound plan to protect Britain's steel industry as it faces looming US trade tariffs. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour administration said that it was stumping up to $3.2 billion to help support the sector. It also launched a consultation looking at how to protect the steel sector from unfair trading practices abroad and reduce high electricity costs. The announcement came days after US President Donald Trump said that he would impose 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium imports from March 12th. Canada, Mexico and Brazil are among the biggest steel exporters to the US, followed by South Korea. Japan's economy expanded an annualized 2.8% in the October-December quarter, backed by improved business spending and better than expected consumption. The increase in gross domestic product, that is GDP, compared with a median market estimate of 1% gain and followed a revised 1.7% growth in the previous quarter. Strong domestic demand is helping support a recovery in the world's fourth largest economy, even as US President Donald Trump's tariff threats fuel concerns about the export outlook. The positive figures will also likely support Bank of Japan's plan to keep hiking interest rates and normalize monetary policy. And now we talk of sports. Brazil's João Fonseca defeated home favourites Francisco Cerundolo in straight sets in the Argentina Open final on Sunday, becoming the youngest player to win a title on the ATP Tour. The 18-year-old Brazilian won 6-4, 7-6 against world number 28 Cerundolo, who is his fourth Argentine opponent at the ATP 250 event in Buenos Aires. World number 99 Fonseca twice unsuccessfully served for the match against the fifth seed Cerundolo, but regrouped to claim victory in the tie-break in a frenzied atmosphere. He is the youngest South American and 10th youngest overall to win an ATP Tour title since 1990. Defending champions Kolkata Knight Riders will take on Royal Challengers Bengaluru at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata in the first match of the 2025 season of the Indian Premier League on March 22nd. The full schedule of the IPL 2025 was announced on Sunday. Qualifier 1 and Eliminator round will be held in Hyderabad, while Kolkata will host Qualifier 2 and the final. Overall, 74 matches will be held across 13 venues in 65 days, including 12 double headers. Meanwhile, last year's runners-up Sunrisers Hyderabad will host Rajasthan Royals in the tournament opener on March 23rd. Later on the same day, Chennai Super Kings will be up against Mumbai Indians in Chennai. The Indian men's hockey team earned their first FIH Pro League points with a 2-0 win against Spain, while the women suffered a heartbreaking shootout defeat against England in Bhubaneswar on Sunday. India made as many as 5 changes from the side that played the opener on Saturday, including Harmanpreet Singh, with Hardik Singh stepping in as the skipper. The senior pro showed why he was so highly rated in that era, being the initiator for both the goals India scored. The Indian women, meanwhile, had to settle for 1 point, going down 2-1 in the sudden death against England in the penalty shootout after being tied 2 each in regulation time. The Indian men's and women's squash teams won bronze medals at the Asian Junior Team Championships in Hong Kong on Sunday. The Indian men's team lost its semi-final clash against Malaysia, while the women's team was beaten by hosts Hong Kong, China. The losing semi-finalists are awarded bronze medals. This was the 22nd edition of the championships, which began in 1983. India men's team was champions in 2011 and 2017. The 78th British Academy Film Awards BAFTA saw a surprise tie for the top honours between Conclave and The Brutalist, with each film winning 4 awards. Conclave, directed by German-born Edward Berger, won the BAFTA for the best film with its tale of the intrigue and horse trading behind the scenes during the election of a new pope. While Brady Corbett won the BAFTA Best Director for The Brutalist, American actor Adrian Brody won Best Actor BAFTA for his portrayal of a Holocaust survivor in The Brutalist, and Mickey Madison won Best Actress for her role in Enora. Other notable winners included Zoe Saldana for Best Supporting Actress and Kieran Culkin for Best Supporting Actor for his work in A Real Pain. Conclave also won awards for Outstanding British Film, Editing and Best Adapted Screenplay, while The Brutalist won for Cinematography and Original Score. Alright, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us at In Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.